that I found that I thought were pretty awesome. So I actually just Googled businesses for sale in different cities. This one's in Seattle. The other one I think is in the Northeast. And these ones popped up. So let me walk you through a few of the things that I'm going to be looking for on some of these listings. And some of these are actually really interesting. Okay, so I clicked on this one because I thought the bridge was for sale, and it said 32 Bridge Road. I'm like, that sounds awesome. I don't know what that is, but I want to buy a bridge. Anyways, it's not a bridge for sale. It's actually the company that makes the bridge. Okay, so they're basically, it's a construction company that focuses on, let me see if I can pull it up here somewhere on here. I haven't quite read the whole thing yet, but basically they do bridge building, road construction, plumbing, and evacuation business in Eastern Washington. So they got to be licensed in multiple states. So Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Wyoming, and Montana. So pretty big area. I think that sounds really interesting to this is a big operation. I would imagine they have a bunch of employees. They have a general manager and something like this. They're asking 1.75. Yeah, a lot of people are like, well, that's a $2 million company. Like, great. Actually, it's a pretty amazing business that they're looking for, right? So they're looking to sell this thing, which includes a ton of machinery. So the reason I'm kind of jumping into some of these local businesses is I feel like some of these businesses, like if you follow Nick, I can't remember his last name, Sweaty Startup Guy on Twitter, he's big into this. He's got a great podcast on these local businesses that they're sweaty, they're kind of dirty, and they're not as sexy. But to me, this is a really interesting business, and walking through a couple of reasons why is, one, they basically have almost $3 million in equipment. So that's crazy. So they're literally asking less for the value, for the price of the company than the value of all the equipment. Now, okay, if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Let me dive in a little bit here. So they've established this thing over, what's the math on that, 50 years? Close, almost 50 years ago. That is amazing. They have some leased land, so they don't have any buildings or anything like that. That's okay. It's not a huge deal. They want some cash. There's actually it looks like there's a seller note tied to it, a minimum $500,000 down with 6%. So they're actually giving you seller terms. They're seller financing this business. That's amazing. That's so cool. Okay, so a couple other things that kind of really stood out to me is they did 2.2 million in revenue. Okay, and then their operating expenses 1.5. So they netted 700 grand. Okay, and the owner salary was included in expenses. No, so like owners probably paying themselves 3, 4, 500K, whatever the number is. And then a big chunk of that's going back into reinvest in the business. So like you kind of have to take that out, but you start getting the idea of this is not very expensive. And they're basically asking for a little over 2x, maybe 2.2x, 2.3x for this business, for your multiple on your EBITDA. And they just have some incredible things that I absolutely love. So there's not a lot of information on this, but and this is like the specific business for a lot of people, and a lot of people don't necessarily want to live in Eastern Washington. But some of these businesses are really interesting. There's always going to be needs to be road construction. There's always going to be evacuation. There's always going to be bridge building, and they're able to do this in 4 or 5 different states in the Pacific Northwest. So between road and bridge building, you can essentially acquire a company for less than the assets of the company that is also at a 2.2x. So anyways, not the best business for everybody, but if you want to live in Walla Walla, or I guess that's where that is, or if you want to live in the state of Washington, or even in that surrounding area, this is an incredible business, an incredible opportunity. One thing when I look at some of these things that have, like, you might say, well, I don't know how to build bridges. Well, yeah, absolutely. You're going to hire a bunch of engineers, and a company of this size probably already has people in that space, like as a general manager or engineers that they've already hired. So that's something to kind of keep in mind is you want to look at the amount of employees that have. It looks like they have 10 part-time employees. I don't know exactly what that means, but that's kind of the biggest thing when you see this. But this is an incredible business that is really, really inexpensive compared to its assets and its cash flow. So that's kind of an interesting one, but definitely not for everybody. Okay, so next one. This is one that I found in State Business Brokers. So Bay State, I think that's Massachusetts. I just Googled businesses for sale of business brokers in Boston. And then you got mabusinessbrokers.com. Let me walk you through a few listings that I think are pretty interesting. Now, first off, this is all local listings. So I'm going to focus on these businesses that make really good money, aren't very expensive compared to the multiple, but not a lot of people are going to want to hang out in this space. So first off, this is a niche residential oil tank replacement business. I don't know anything about that industry, but I know it's going to be dirty and it's going to be very specialized services, and there's probably not going to be very much competition. Okay, so first off, they're asking a little less than 500 grand for it, 450, comes with 65,000 in FFE and service vehicles, right? So you probably have some trucks in there, you've got some equipment, whatever it might be, right? So, you got 50, 60 grand in there. The margins are really good, right? So they're in 650 a year and they're pulling in 226. So 650 divided by 2. So basically they're pulling in like 35% margins. It's really good. That's very, very good. A couple of things that kind of jump out to me is really they're asking a 2x for this business plus 60 grand in equipment. That's amazing, right? So they're getting a 2x on this. This is a business that has been around for over 35 years. That's what you get with a lot of these local businesses. A couple of things that we stand here. I would imagine they have a really good reputation. They have employees that have been there a long time, and they are kind of a staple in the community. So they're in like South Boston and Rhode Island, it looks like. So they have a little bit smaller area, okay? And they're very trusted within the region. Now, typically I find with these types of businesses, this doesn't actually show you the exact information without downloading this NDA and signing it and that sort of thing. But what I would imagine with these local service businesses, none of them are texting, none of them are showing up on time, and they're probably not as professional as they could be. They don't answer the phone, they don't train their phone people on how to sell, they don't have very specific scripts in mind. So that's kind of what I would focus on within these types of things. So really this is one, if you want to roll your sleeves up and kind of get into the operations side of things, this business is not very expensive. They're trading at a 2x, comes with some probably limited competition in the area. Not a lot of people want to do that. So, and I would imagine this is a company that's growing pretty steadily. It looks like growth for expansions, increasing marketing, advertising initiatives. Most of these local companies, they don't really know how to advertise, right? So there'd be a very specific way to advertise for this type of business. First off, you want to get a bunch of Google reviews. You want to make it just so it's stupidly easy to work with you, that people can contact you really fast, that people can text you. So simple from that standpoint. They probably have a very old website, maybe not even a website that works. They probably advertise in the yellow pages, which probably doesn't work. So there's definitely some efficiencies that you could look into. Expanding into new territories. So I would imagine, the owner plus one full-time technician. So the one technician is probably doing most of the things, whereas the owner's handling a little bit of everything. Now, this is where you come in, you hire a virtual assistant, do a lot of your management, or you hire an assistant to handle a lot of the operations from an office standpoint and kind of increase your capacity so that you could then sell. I don't know a ton about this business, but you're definitely going to roll up your sleeves and dive into it. But I think you could grow this thing 2 to 3x in 2 to 3 years, and then all of a sudden you'd have a business that's worth 1.5 million, doing $600,000 a year in profit, and you've paid off your loan. Term. So this is an SBA business, right? So you can buy this business with 10% down. This is literally 45K. You can buy this business at 45K, and then you can have 200,000 kicking off. Factor in your taxes and stuff or your loan payments. For 45K, you can essentially go make $125,000 next year. So your cash on cash return is like 2-3x. It's just crazy, whatever the math is on that. Anyways, lots of owner support there. They've been doing this for 35 years. I love this business. I don't live in Boston, but if someone wants to live in Boston or lives in Boston, these are the opportunities that you can find on a local business level. And this is probably something that's really there's going to be one of these things in like every city, right? So if there's a way that you could systemize this, you could create some kind of franchise. This is a 10-year play, but you could essentially set up the same thing in a bunch of different cities, and you can get some economies of scale. And somebody like Waste Management or whatever would come in and buy you up. Anyways, I love that business. Okay, next one. Also, this is Bay State Business Brokers. I literally had never been on the site before. Right now, we jumped on this. And I just looked at a few listings that looked interesting, but I hadn't really dove into many of these that much. Okay. First off is residential landscape maintenance business for sale. And the reason I want to do that is I want you to show you live what I'm looking for, not like something that I've curated and can, been looking at for 10 minutes, right? This is something that I'm looking at live and reading this here together. So residential landscape, I like this business. I know people who make $100,000 a year working 6 months out of the year, and the other 6 months they go skiing and go on cruises and go to the beach with their family. So This is an interesting one because they're asking $500,000 for it, but it cash flows almost 300 grand. So this is literally less than 2x, and it comes with vehicles and equipment valued at 140,000. Wow, that's crazy. You have fantastic margins. You got 29% margins on this business. This is net margins, almost 30% net margins on this business, 100,000 plus in equipment to run this business, and they're asking for less than a 2x. They've been around for 25 years. That is amazing to me. Anytime that something had been around that long, they probably have a pretty good reputation in the community. They've done a lot of things right. It also means they probably have done the same things that they were doing, say, 20 years ago before the internet and the iPhone really existed. So what does that allow you to do? You could probably have a lot of marketing, sales, growth opportunities, which is exactly what they're saying. I absolutely love this type of a business. It probably comes with some employees because one person isn't going to be able to do that all by themselves. So that would be a big thing. Is I don't really want to be behind the lawnmower, but what you're going to run into the issues with something like this is, of course, the management. This business does not have a salesperson, a website, and does not currently do any marketing except for an annual direct mailer. Someone's got to buy this. Who's going to buy this? This is amazing. Okay, this is such a great business. You could probably double this business within a year. Maybe that's a little, okay, let's say 2 years. 2 years, I think you could double this business. And then all of a sudden you're making $500,000 a year, and you're doing a lot of fun cruises in the Caribbean. Okay, so the other thing, I can't even remember what I was saying. I actually love this business. This is such a great business. You can get an SBA loan on this thing. The owner's retiring. Talking about employees. So one of the big things that you're going to run into, I think, with this is a lot of these local businesses all have the same issues. It's employees. So employees don't show up. Employees are sick. Employees quit. You're training them to become competitors. So there's a lot of ways to kind of go about how to train your employees. But that's the big thing. If you like working with people and you want to create a really cool environment for a company, I think there's ways that you could take this business, make it very professional. You could probably increase prices, by 10, 20%. That's an instant 20%, 30%, 20% bump to the bottom line, because that's going to be pure profit. So that's an instant, 40, 50K a year in cash flow that you could bump up by just increasing prices a little bit. And then I would actually take that increase in prices and give it to your employees, pay them a little bit more, make sure they're really happy and they don't ever go away. Someone's got to buy this business. This is amazing. If you do buy this business, let me know. Next one. Okay. Once again, all these businesses are in Boston. Okay. We just happened to pick these today. Strong and stable security guard company for sale. I literally didn't know this company existed, or this industry existed. I love this. The thing I love about this is I didn't realize that companies would outsource their security guards. It makes total sense. And what that allows for is multi-year contracts. This is huge. Okay, so the margins aren't as good, right? You got about 10% margin, so they're doing $2 million a year in revenue, but only owners pulling in 200K, 225. But they're not asking very much for this business. They're asking less than 3x, and the reason for that is it's a little bit more than the other business, but they have these multi-year contracts. This is amazing, and it talks a little bit about the industry here. I don't care about that. This is a great business where I would imagine there's a lot of room for growth by working with your current customers. And the way to do that is owners of local businesses know other owners of local businesses. So just start wining and dining them, taking them, the edible arrangements, drop some fudge off on their doors, whatever, right? Drop some donuts off to the secretary, and you start kind of working them. And I think you'll actually get introduced and figure out where all these people are hanging out, and you'll be able to kind of expand from there. I actually really, really like this type of a business. It doesn't say if it's SBA financeable. It's been around it doesn't say that either. So it's probably been around for a little bit. This is just a cool, unique industry where I think I didn't even know this industry existed, and I'm probably not the only one, right? So it's very limited. One of the things that's nice about these local businesses is you're not competing with everybody with the internet connection. So this is a cool business, right? You can pick this up for not very much. You got stable contracts. This is a great business where if you kind of rolled up your sleeves and started selling, I think it's a great opportunity. That's the thing with all these local businesses. It's managing employees and sales, right? That's what you're going to try to figure out. Okay, so this one jumped at me because I don't really know what an adult daycare center is, and I haven't Googled it or anything. It's a thriving adult daycare center in a population dense area. Okay. Now, I think there's a lot of opportunity for businesses in what do you call it? Just in the elder care. I don't know, is that the right word for it? This is in Rhode Island. Um, so it's a very turnkey business, predictable cash flow, great. So they're asking 1.6 for it, but they're doing 600 grand. So they're asking less than 3x for this business, which probably means there is not they're not like physical assets. There's not any real estate tied to this particular one. Okay, so the adult daycare industry is growing in response to the old and aging industry. So this is different than like a retirement home, but I do love that industry and it's growing pretty fast. So this is something that the owner works 25 hours a week, and as a director is responsible for operational oversight and marketing. Does not have a background in this field and selling the business to sell or to pursue career change. That's pretty interesting. That's what I would do if you're making $500,000 a year, you want to double check that number, make sure that's legit. 600 grand a year, you can pay someone really, really amazing for say 120, 150K a year in that area to basically do all your job for you. And you can focus on growing, making it a better experience, or just move on to the next opportunity. So to me, they're only working 25 hours a week. I think you can get someone really, really baller in there for say 120K a year where they're like severely overpaid, or you pay them 80K a year plus profit sharing or something to that extent. And you could basically have someone come in and kind of run this thing for you. So this is, a lot of these businesses aren't for everybody, but these are not that crazy. Like this is a really predictable cash flow one. You can probably get an SBA loan on this deal, I would think. Anyways, doesn't say, but I think you could. Okay, last one that's kind of similar to the last one because I do like the home care, home health care. I love that area. So franchise for sale, you're grossing $4 million a year. That's pretty good. Your margins are like 16, 17% if they're making 700 grand in owner's free cash flow. Okay, I would probably look into that. They're asking a little bit much for this. I think the price is a little high. But there might be, this includes 2 weeks of working capital, which is estimated at 150 to 200K. So this is, I'm getting into I don't really know the industry that well. So in something like this, I have a friend who actually is in this space. He runs, in the Midwest, 20 different facilities like this. This is something I would bounce off them. And any of these businesses that you don't know the niche in the industry, you definitely want to contact people who maybe you aren't going to compete with. If you're in the Midwest and this is in Boston, you're not competing in any way. But you can just pick their brain, bring them on as a consultant, bring them on as like a really small minority partner, give them 1% of the business so they're interested, but then use them to kind of coach your way through this. So this business is a little high, I would think, without really knowing a lot about this business. But I would imagine this business is going to slowly grow. They did really well during the pandemic, it looks like. They provide non-medical home care to residing in their homes, about 65%, and then also to assisted living homes in 35%. So this is really interesting. There isn't going to be, so since it's home, it's not like a physical location. They're actually going to people's homes. The biggest thing you're going to run into with this, of course, is employees, right? How do you get really good employees who are going to love working with these CNAs who are going to love working with their clients or patients. Probably patients is a better word. My wife used to be a CNA. I guess technically she still is a CNA. But in college, she was a CNA, and she actually, got to know some of these people really, really well. So you want to look for someone who's really loves that kind of caretaking, and that's going to be the hardest thing you're going to run into is you're going to have turnover with your employees. So now you don't have massive margins in this, right? I think you got, what did we say? 15, 16%. You could almost raise your rates a little bit and then raise the rates on how much they're paying their employees. Now, of course, we're saying all this without knowing this. That's probably how I would grow. I think this business is going to be someone who wants to roll up their sleeves, get good at local marketing, get good at local networking, and just sell, right? So you want to sell more. You've got these homes, people, 65% is in the homes. I actually think there, could be really awesome to focus on these assisted living facilities and nursing homes where it's going to be really, really consistent. Now, I don't know the margins and the breakdown of those, but that would be something that would be really interesting to dive into. So that's probably my least favorite of all these businesses. There's several businesses on here, such as this lawn care one, the security guard one, this tank replacement one, and this bridge one. These are really solid businesses that people would be able to probably do really well and probably make hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars over the course of 10 years in doing a lot of these businesses. So anyways, this is krbrokers.com, and this was mabusinessbrokers.com. Anyways, let's go out there and buy business.